Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is How Fast. I promised you guys some LS content, so that's exactly what we're going to do today. We've got Dudgy waiting for us, but before we get to him, I want to lift this engine up. I'm going to clean out the LS2 pan, and we are going to pull that pan off, put that pan on. Then, we're going to climb into the engine bay here. We're going to cut out, let's see, this piece. We're going to shave this down. We're going to cut this one out. And while we're in there, we're going to drill out all the rivets that are holding in these old ragged brake lines and get those out of the way. Because I'd like to cut up a piece of metal or two and fill these holes. So that's what's on the docket for today, guys. A little bit more cutting, fab work a little bit, but this should be the end of it in the engine bay until we get to the intake and exhaust. So gonna get started on that one right now. Okay, got the old oil pan off, got the old pickup off. I'm going to seal that new gasket, and then I'm going to clean that one up right now, and we'll put it back on the block. Alright, the 6 liter now has kind of a new look to it with that LS2 pan on. When I went to go put it on, the oil pickup, I'm not sure if it's the right one. It seems to be, when it's in the right position, it's still about like an inch below where the pan should be. So I'm going to look up, just make sure I got the right part number, take a couple measurements, but this will have to come out again anyway. So once that comes out, I'll make sure we put the right pickup tube in it. And also, I forgot to put one of the windage tray bolts back in, so that definitely is going to come back out. Anyway, note to self, next time make sure all the bolts are on before you start putting things back together. Moving on. Okay, so there's a couple things here we spoke about. Right now, this is where our oil filter goes, and that is going to land. So I'm going to cut out that, almost cut out that square right there, and that's going to make sure that we have enough room to get that oil filter around there. Before I go putting this engine in though, there are a couple pieces of steel there I said I wanted to get rid of, so I'm going to get out the cutoff wheel and I'm going to start hacking those out right now. Well, that was not easy. That is some thick steel. Probably not the right thing to be cutting with a zip disc, kind of dangerous, but my dad's got a plasma cutter and, you know, it's a long way away, so cut that out. Really, I think our only hope is to just put this thing in here and see if it fits, and then I can mark out and see if I need to clearance it any further. But as much as I want to drop that in there right now, I'm just doubling my work if I don't at least mock up some shapes that are going to fill these little holes here. So I'm going to get some cardboard right now, and I'm going to cut these out to make like a template of what I'm going to make out of a piece of metal, and then we can get to tacking that in. Alright, so I cut out a couple pieces of cardboard here, and I bent them to the shape that I want to see to fill that hole. So I'm going to now trace these out of some metal, and I'm going to tack them into place here, and see if I can hammer them to shape, and then weld them in. That should fix these holes. These drive me nuts. So I've tacked in all the way around on these panels here. As I've said many times, I'm not a welder, so mind the holes, don't really care. These are just to cover up the even larger holes that are underneath. So I'm just gonna hit these real quick with a grinder. I'm gonna clean them all up, and then we're gonna shoot these with some black paint, and then we're gonna put the engine back in the hole. Oh my goodness, that looks so much better. I can't tell you how much anxiety those big holes gave me. And I know that little bit of steel isn't structural or anything, but just covering those up, like, it makes me feel so much better. They're all stitched in, and I ground them down and put out some, the same paint that's on the chassis on it. So now I'm going to pick up the engine, and we're going to hope that it fits in that little slot there, and I don't have to keep grinding away at it. But if I do, I do. Let's find out right now. Okay, engine's back in. You can see, believe it or not, the oil filter did clear, and I am probably going to have to take out a little bit more of the K-member to get the oil feed lines to fit in. But I can see that there is still a chunk of that portion down there that I cut out that is virtually contacting the oil filter. So that's going to have to get cut or ground down a bit further. But all in all, a successful day. I think I'm going to put a little bit more time into grinding that that piece down, and I'm going to actually, while it's in there right now, I'm going to map out where those oil feed lines are going to go, and then I'll make a couple of precision cuts in there to kind of make some space for those. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. I'm going to continue working on grinding out some of that K-member, and I can already tell that the exhaust is going to fit much better. And then over the next week or so, I'm going to do a little bit of paint prep on Hildy. So I'm going to show you guys how to prep your car for the winter, because here in Southern Ontario, over the next couple weeks, it's going to really start getting cold, and there's probably going to be some snow. So with snow comes salt, and salt eats your car. So I'll teach you guys how to keep that salt off your car with one application on a product. Also, I'm going to, I got a new clutch coming in for the go-kart, so I'll be putting that on, and hopefully we can revisit the old How Fast circuit, and we can see how the go-kart compares to the Porsche in a time trial. So I'll catch up with you guys next time, find out how fast we can make this car go.